Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All of you are honoured guests. I'm not going to go through who is here and whatever, because you are all very warmly welcomed. You're all special to us. And on behalf of the Intercontinental Church Society, who own and run the church here, I'd like to welcome you to St. Peter's Church on this day that marks 150 years since the dedication of this building. It was dedicated to the glory of God and to the name of St. Peter. And this church, built on a rock, thanks to the wonderful partnership with the Zermatt family, was dedicated with the name of the apostle, named by Christ as the rock on whom he would build his church. The first actual service here was the previous year on the feast day of St. Peter, 29th of June in 1870. But sadly, the pandemic prevented us from celebrating that occasion. However, I'm delighted that we can celebrate what is also a very special day, that official opening and dedication, and it's lovely to have you all sharing it with us. I must say a word of thanks to the management of Fuchs-Josie Haustechnik of St. Niklaus, who, having done such a wonderful job replacing the roof on this church a few years ago, have kindly helped to sponsor our celebrations today. Following this more formal section of our time together, I hope you will take the opportunity to look around this simple but beautiful building, which holds so much of the history of the climbing of the Zermatt peaks, not least the church's strong link with that famous first ascent of the Matterhorn in 1865, being the resting place below the holy table of the Reverend Charles Hudson, who perished on the first descent after that day. On the altar, you can see that we have the Bible and prayer book, which belonged to Charles Hudson, which his widow donated to this church in July 1871. It's quite possible that Charles Hudson himself was actually serving as a chaplain for us here in the 1860s when he went up the Matterhorn. And I'm delighted to say that following this weekend, these treasures, which were in regular use but are no longer in regular use in worship here, we will be entrusting them to the care of the Matterhorn Museum in the town, so they can be seen by more people as they explore the history of this wonderful place. But of course, while strong in historical significance, St. Peter's Church remains a place of encounter with the living God through regular worship and prayer. And we will be celebrating our anniversary in our service here on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. Over these 150 years, many thousands of people from around the world have discovered or strengthened their faith in Jesus Christ. And it is our great hope that this will continue for many years to come. We seek to serve English speakers of all nationalities, whether residents, resort workers or tourists, and to be helpful and supportive partners with the many local organisations, always recognising that we are guests in this beautiful and much loved country of Switzerland. And those who designed the building of this church clearly appreciated the majestic creation surrounding us, as well as the majesty of the Creator, as they placed above the door on the way out the words of the psalm, "Enter into his gates with thanksgiving." You don't have to come in to meet with God. He's all around in the beauty of this place. Now I'd like to hand over to Chris Weller, who is the Treasurer and Member of Council of Intercontinental Church Society, who is just going to say a word of welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Well, on behalf of the Council of ICS, a very warm welcome to you all, and thank you for coming to celebrate with us this 150th anniversary of these first services in the church. The magnificent mountains around us remind us of God's wonderful creation. And here we are today celebrating this church, which has been the centre of worship for so long. And so many people have been here and really enjoyed worshipping here together. So many thanks to all those who support St. Peter's here in Zermatt. The Canton, the Commune, the Ski Club, the Loterie Romande, the Friends of St. Peter's, and all those who worship here. Without you, this church would not be able to function in the way it does. And certainly, we wouldn't have been able to raise all the money that we did to re-roof the church 3 years ago. So for that, thank you all very much indeed. ICS is committed to its ministry in Switzerland, with 7 chaplaincies and churches, and we're here for the long term. And we're in St. Peter's in Zermatt, we're particularly pleased that we can have the ministries, although it's been difficult this year, both in the winter and in the summer. And so as we celebrate together, please let us join together and be very thankful that we're here, and we're delighted to share this occasion with you all. And a special word of thanks, I think, to Jim for all his work in organising this event, which the Council are very grateful for, and I know we all are too. So Jim, thank you. Thank you.
And now our Archdeacon Adele Cullen is like to say a few words on her behalf and on behalf of the Bishop of the Diocese of New York.
Guten Abend. Es ist mir im Sinn gekommen, dass ich etwas auf Deutsch sagen sollte. Also, herzlichen Dank, dass Sie da alle gekommen sind. Und es freut mich sehr, dass wir zusammen feiern können. Now back to English, which will be relief to everybody. First of all, I bring warm greetings and congratulations from Bishop Robert and from Suffragan Bishop David on reaching this milestone year. And I am to assure you of their continued prayers for the future of this place. Also, I greet you warmly on behalf of the Archdeaconry of Switzerland. All our chaplaincies offer their felicitations on this special day. As there's no doubt that every other speaker is far more knowledgeable than I on the history of this place and the development of the chaplaincy, I shall refrain from boring you with facts about which I know absolutely nothing. Instead, I would like to give you a quick glimpse of news headlines from 150 years ago. To start with the world and international scene, the Franco-Prussian War ended with the siege of Paris in January. Otto von Bismarck was appointed Chancellor of the German Empire in March. Also in March, Queen Victoria opened the Royal Albert Hall. The US Civil Rights Bill completing the abolition of slavery became law in April. Victor Emmanuel of Italy entered Rome in July after conquering the city from the Papal States. That same month, British Columbia joined the Confederation of Canada. In July, an explosion on the Staten Island ferry killed over 85 people. In August, the Emperor of Japan abolished the Han system to establish a more Western style of local government. Trade unions in Britain were legalized in August. Bishop John Coleridge Patterson, the first bishop of Melanesia, was martyred in September. The Great Chicago Fire was at last extinguished on the 10th of October after burning for 3 days. In the sporting scene, the very first international rugby football match was held in March. Scotland beat England. Do I hear cheers? The 33rd Grand National was won by a horse called the Lamb. And in the US, the first professional baseball league, the National Association, opened its first season in Indiana. The first Challenge Cup season began in November, now known as the FA Cup. The final was held in Kennington Oval in London, where Wanderers beat the Royal Engineers 1-0. The only goal was scored by Morton Betts, playing under a pseudonym, A.H. Checker. Not many people know that. And in Switzerland, what about Switzerland? May saw the opening of the very first rack and pinion railway in Europe, the Rigi Bahn. In July, as we all know, Lucy Walker became the first woman to climb the Matterhorn, and the new Zurich Hauptbahnhof opened, designed by the famous architect Jakob Wanner. It remains largely unchanged today. It was very pompous, and he still is. And finally, you'll be pleased to hear, the most famous words of the year. Everybody knows them. They were spoken by Henry Morton Stanley, and they were Dr. Livingstone, I presume. Yes. Current events from the time when this church was first built. These were probably some of the issues that people were thinking about and people were talking about during the period of construction of this church. People here, our churchgoers, will also be talking about current events, things that are happening now. We're all people of our time. And whether it's news and headlines, sporting events, or whatever, the church in Zermatt is a place where we can get together and meet with our friends. And the events of the day today are both different and the same. World politics, wars, natural disasters, accidents, climate change, achievements, stories of heroism, sporting events, new records. The events come and go, but our task as a church remains the same. Together with all the churches in this place, we are to bring God's light and life and love to the world around us. Together, we are the body of Christ. In days past, in the present, and in the years to come. So let's look forward to the next 150 years. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome one of our regular attendants here at St. Peter's, who is a very special friend of us all, and you may have come across her in another role that she had a short while ago, but I'd love to welcome Theresa May to come and speak to us.
Thank you very much, Jim. I stand here, I have to confess, I stand here as somebody who has no connection with the Intercontinental Church Society, and as you can plainly see, well, actually not as you can plainly see, because they don't always wear dog collars these days, but I'm not a clergyman either, or woman. But I do stand here, as you've just heard, as somebody who has regularly come to St. Peter's. My husband Philip and I have been coming to Zermatt for, we think, probably over 20 years now. And it has been wonderful to be able to find here an English-speaking church which has enabled us to continue our regular worship. Can I just interject actually and say, we only arrived here this afternoon, and it is wonderful to have been able to get back to Zermatt this year, despite all the forms that we had to fill in order to get here. But we're greatly pleased to be here. But when we come here, when we visit, it's that ability to have the church here so that we can continue our regular worship that is important to us and is so important to so many English-speaking people who come here to enjoy the mountains and to enjoy the wonderful fresh air, but who still want to be able to have that connection with their regular worship. But of course, it isn't just about the worship, the services that are put on here. It is about the service that the chaplaincy here offers to those who are looking for that somebody to talk to, perhaps for solace in time of difficulty, and as we know from some of the plaques around here, and sadly from the cemetery here in Zermatt, to offer comfort and support to those who've been bereaved, to those whose family members have died on the mountains. So that service, that all-round service that is offered by the chaplaincy here, is so important to so many people. And it is wonderful that ICS has so many chaplains across Switzerland. A huge number of people to thank the ICS, to thank those who, way back, over 150 years ago, had the idea of actually saying we need to have a church here for English-speaking people. And thank you to the Zeiler family for the part that they played in that. But also thank you to the Zermatt community for having welcomed the church here, for having supported the church here for so many years. 150 years isn't a bad record. It's a sort of record I'd quite like some England Test cricketers to have these days, but sadly that doesn't seem to be happening. But 150 years is a wonderful record. As we've just heard from the Archdeacon, let's hope it goes on continues for the next 150 years and into the future, because there is always that need for people who come here to visit, to be able to continue that regular worship, or to be able to find the comfort and help and solace of talking to a chaplain here, whatever their needs. And as I heard from Jim earlier, for many, they have found God here, they have strengthened their belief here for that support that has been provided to them. So thank you to everybody who has kept this place going and continues to maintain it, to provide the chaplaincies, to keep it going. Huge thank you to the Intercontinental Church Society for the support and the fact that without them, this would not be here. It matters to those of us who are regular churchgoers and others who come to this place to enjoy it and who are able to come here to St. Peter's and enjoy our worship here too. Thank you.
And mention of the community, one of the great joys we have is our close friendship with both the Protestant and Catholic communities in this area. And it's lovely to have both pastors and priests with us. And I've asked the Catholic priest, Stefan Roth, if he would just say a few words, firstly in German, for those who are struggling with English. So thank you, Stefan.
Ja, im Namen der katholischen Pfarrgemeinde darf ich Ihnen die besten Glückwünsche zum 150-jährigen Jubiläum der englischen Kirche in Zermatt überbringen. Es war in der Vergangenheit eine gute Tradition, dass die Engländer beim Bergsteigen und in den Ferien ihre Seelsorger mitnahmen und dann auch Kirchen gebaut haben. So eben auch hier in Zermatt. Hier konnten sie sich auch spirituell Nahrung und Kraft holen. Wenn auch heute noch dieses spirituelle Angebot besteht, so ist das doch auch ein Zeichen der Wichtigkeit dieses Angebots. Einmal im Jahr in der Einheitswoche feiern wir zusammen einen ökumenischen Gottesdienst in unserer Pfarrkirche. 3 Kirchen, die englische, die reformierte und die katholische Kirche, beten gemeinsam und besinnen sich auf die gemeinsamen Wurzeln des christlichen Glaubens. Und auch vor kurzem durfte ich mit der anglikanischen Kirche der Einsegnung der Statue von Lucy Walker, diese einsegnen und den Segen sprechen für alle Bergsteigerinnen und Bergsteiger. Allow me, on behalf of our parish community, to congratulate you for the 150th anniversary of your church in Zermatt. Our ecumenical service during the week of the Christians' unity is a highlight of our excellent collaboration. I hope you will continue your mission in Zermatt for a long time. God bless you.
Thank you.
So thank you to all who have spoken, and thank you to all of you for being here. We do have a gift, a bag to give to each of you as you go, which includes something of the history of this place, as well as looking forward, and perhaps one or two things just to recognise that we're in Switzerland as well. But so please do take one of those with you. Do stay around to enjoy the place. Do stay around to enjoy the food and the drink. We really don't want to waste too much, but thank you all for being here. And I know some have to go fairly quickly, so it would be wonderful if you could put your name in the visitor book on the table at the back, just to help us to know that you've been here. So again, enjoy the rest of your day, and if you can come back on Sunday morning, we would love to welcome you. Thank you.